History is cyclical. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it, as Santayana said. But what happens when history is learned from, not to avoid its mistakes, but to recreate them in a crude parody of the actual past, adapted for a stagnant world? What happens is Caesar's Legion. Edward Swallow was born in 2226, outside of the former city of Los Angeles, now called the Boneyard. Left fatherless by a raider attack when he was just 2 years old, Edward and his mother were taken in by the Followers of the Apocalypse, a humanitarian group based out of LA's library. Edward was educated by the Followers in both the sciences and history, with his naturally high intellect lending itself to quickly absorbing their lessons. At the age of 20, Edward and fellow follower Bill Calhoun, along with Mormon missionary Joshua Graham, traveled west into Arizona in order to make contact with the tribal villages there. Their peaceful intentions were quickly taken advantage of, though, when Swallow's mission was kidnapped by the Blackfoot tribe of the Grand Canyon after a misunderstanding caused by the language barrier. The Blackfoots intended to ransom their captives back to the Followers, but their ongoing war against 7 other local tribes forced them to abandon this plan. Edward, sensing an opportunity, and not wishing to die with the undisciplined tribals, decided to train the Blackfoots in both the use and maintenance of their captured guns, and tactics based on those of ancient Rome, learned from Gibbons's History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, and Julius Caesar's own account of the Gallic War. Under Edward's guidance, the Blackfoots slowly conquered their enemies, integrating their captured enemy men into their army, and forcing the women, of any age, into sexual slavery. As the Blackfoots' enemies were assimilated into their tribe, their culture was annihilated, with only what Edward deemed useful remaining, creating a dominant monoculture amongst unrelated tribes. Once all of the surrounding tribes were assimilated, and Edward realized the true power of his new confederation, he crowned himself as their new leader, their Kaiser, and the tribes as his legion. Graham stayed by Caesar's side to become a general in the oncoming conquests, gaining the title of the Malpais Legate. Calhoun stayed true to the Followers' non-violent ways and chose not to partake in Caesar's conquests, returning to California with a message from Caesar to the new California Republic: do not interfere. The Legion quickly began spreading out across the Southwest, conquering and assimilating tribes across Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. Establishing his capital in the ruins of Flagstaff, Caesar ran a brutal but safe empire. Unlike the rest of the wasteland, the Legion annihilated all the raiders within their lands, leaving the roads safe for travelers. That doesn't mean that it was a paradise, however. Alcohol and drugs, including medicine, were completely outlawed by the Legion, and women lived as slaves. Men born into the Legion had no choice but to serve as soldiers in endless wars of conquest. Caesar was worshipped as the son of the Roman god of war, Mars, giving him absolute control over the society he created. As his power grew, Caesar turned his sights on his once homeland, the NCR. Over the 2250s, 60s, and 70s, settlers from the NCR had begun pouring into the Mojave Wasteland, swiftly followed by the NCR's military. Caesar had always intended on conquering the NCR, but seeing them move closer to his territory, gave him the perfect excuse to prepare to strike. Additionally, Frumentarius Ulysses, a scout of the Twisted Hares tribe, discovered the Hoover Dam and the city of Vegas to still be intact, making the Mojave not only the best practical battleground for the Legion's duel with the NCR, but also a symbolic one. The Colorado River would be this Kaiser's Rubicon, and Vegas his gall. While the NCR allied with the Desert Rangers of Nevada in preparation for war, the Legion was launching smaller raids on NCR facilities, such as Fort Aradesh. Tensions would finally come to a head when the Legion launched an attack on the NCR garrison at Hoover Dam in 2277. Led by the Malpais Legate, waves of Legionnaires flooded the dam, overwhelming the ill-prepared NCR. Sending their recruits first to die on the front lines while the veterans stayed ready in reserves, the Legion forced the NCR from the dam, making them retreat into Boulder City, their retreat covered by Ranger sharpshooters and the 1st Recon Sniper Battalion. Confident in his victory, the Legate ordered his forces to pursue the NCR and annihilate whatever remained. Unfortunately for the Legate, his overambition allowed him to fall straight into a trap. The city was rigged to explode, and once enough Legionnaires were inside, the city was destroyed, killing or maiming the majority of the Legate's army. It wasn't long before the NCR was able to push the Legion back to the dam, and then back across the Colorado River. Enraged by the Legate's failure, Kaiser stripped Graham of his titles before having him covered in pitch and thrown into the Grand Canyon. As the new military commander of the Legion, Kaiser named Linnaeus as Legate, a brutal warrior whose origins are filled with contradictions and inconsistencies. Rumors of Graham's survival are still spread throughout the Legion, however, with him being mythologized as the Burned Man. The defeat at the dam did not halt Kaiser's conquests. In the east, Linnaeus led campaigns to grow the Legion's territory and strength, such as his conquering of Dogtown, originally known as Denver, and the assimilation of the Hangdog tribe and their canine trainers into the Legion's ranks. In the west, Kaiser began preparing for his eventual second attack on the dam from his field headquarters on Fortification Hill. Small skirmishes consistently broke out between the two armies. The NCR was forced to abandon all holdings east of the Colorado after their loss at the Arizona Spillway. Legion strike teams attempted to take the cities of Ashton and Hopeville from the Republic, crippling their supply lines, but the cities were destroyed in a mysterious disaster, leaving the Long 15 as the only way for the NCR to make it in to the Mojave. The Legion began making alliances with tribes too far to be conquered, such as the Whitelegs of Utah and the Great Khans, ancient enemies of the NCR. Throughout this war, the Legion ran a carefully planned demoralization campaign against the NCR. After the city of Nelson was captured, injured NCR troopers were purposefully left in earshot of the nearby Californian base, Camp Forlorn Hope. Any who tried to rescue their comrades soon discovered that the injured soldiers were booby-trapped with landmines. The town of Nipton was destroyed and almost everyone was killed, with the smoke being visible from the NCR's Mojave outpost, letting them know that the Legion could reach across the river and attack them whenever they pleased. Camp Searchlight was destroyed by a radiation bomb, turning all of the soldiers stationed there into ghouls. It is now 2281. Elite soldiers on both sides have begun entering the Mojave, and tensions couldn't be higher. The NCR, demoralized and exhausted, sits in anticipation for another attack at the dam. The Legion, emboldened by dozens of small victories, have begun final preparations for the attack, intent on marching all the way to Vegas after resistance at the dam is destroyed. Unbeknownst to both, however, a new player has entered the game.